The Legend of Zelda. If you clicked on this, you already know what it is. I don't have to explain it. A movie has been announced. Ew, live action. A movie has been announced, but we have very little information about it, so this video will probably age very badly, but I want to do this pitch anyway because I think it's fun, so here it is. What is the most important thing about Zelda? Some could say the adventure, dungeons, distinct art designs, and possibly many more, but I believe it's the story, more specifically the timeline and the theme of cycles, how history repeats itself over and over again. Every game is placed in a different setting, and unlike other series that take a similar route, Zelda has an in-universe explanation for why that is. How could we adapt such a thing into a movie trilogy, and which games are worthy to be adapted? Let's look at the timeline. For those that don't know, Zelda's timeline revolves around Ocarina of Time, where at the end of the game, Zelda uses her ocarina to send Link back in time to relive his childhood. This results in 3 time splits, one where we follow Link back in time, one where we stay with Zelda as the timeline continues, and another one that follows Ganondorf if he won the final battle. It's hard to believe that one exists when it has nothing to do with Zelda's time manipulation. There's no official answer as to why, but I think it's actually symbolism for the theme of 3 that Zelda uses as like 3 goddesses, the Triforce pieces, and a character to represent them, or ironically separate focus for each separate timeline. The child timeline is triggered by Link going back in time, the adult timeline is triggered by Zelda sending Link back in time, and the fallen hero timeline is triggered by Ganon winning the final battle. But that's a whole other topic. Here's the order. The reason I'm emphasizing it so much is while I don't believe the movies should ever address it since it's confusing, I also don't think we should do movies that exist in different timelines. For example, if I make a movie about Breath of the Wild, I would rather the sequel be Tears of the Kingdom than Wind Waker. It'd be a very weird shift. Second, with this timeline, we'll do a quick dissection of which games are worthy to be adapted and which are not. So right off the bat, the Oracle games, Link's Awakening, Triforce Heroes, Zelda 2, Minish Cap, and both 4 Sword games are out. You can make a case for some of them, but if any Zelda games were getting adapted, I don't think they would be the first pick. Let's also delete the Wisdom timeline entirely since the movies are doing live action. Why would they do that? They could still do a live action Wind Waker film, but that'd just be weird. Also, the sequels would suck ass. Breath of the Wild and Tears are also counted out since they're way too recent and it's only 2 movies and we need 3. Finally, while a classic trilogy could work, there could also be some holes you had to patch out, like Link starting each game with a completely different life. Also, with Link being alone for most of these adventures, you need some creative liberty to somehow make the traveling scenes interesting, which in my opinion is impossible. Characters are more important than plot after all, so the Fallen timeline is in my opinion cut too. This leaves us with Skyward Sword, Ocarina, Majora, and lastly Twilight Princess. As cliche as it may seem to choose the most popular Zelda games ever, or at least some of the most popular games, I feel like this is the best direction to go, especially since I disproved all the other ones. I feel like what makes a true trilogy is when the first movie is a simple adventure, usually straightforward and grounded compared to the others, while the second expands upon the first and becomes the most loved of the trilogy. Then the third movie is either a hit or miss, but a slightly more in-depth story that ends the trilogy on a somewhat satisfying note. And that's the vision I'm going for. If every Zelda game starts with Link in a different life, it's clear by now we can't make a trilogy with 1 Link, we need 3. That's why Skyward Sword would make the perfect first movie. Demise's Curse would provide enough exposition for why every movie is different in setting and atmosphere, communicating that Zelda is technically an anthology series. Although Ganon doesn't appear, we can instead set him up as an after-credits scene. Once we get Skyward Sword right, that'd give us enough preparation for Ocarina of Time. Although I do understand why people would want Ocarina to be first, and I did consider it, the reason why this game works better as a sequel is because Ocarina is way too big for a first movie. So much time and energy needs to be put into getting this project right, and I don't think Hollywood is willing to do that for just any movie. So if we could create buzz with Skyward Sword, it would create justification for Ocarina. I'm not saying Nintendo is broke, they'll probably put some money in too, but you gotta break even at the box office, and I imagine the amount of makeup and CGI to bring all the different races of Hyrule to life would be insane. But I also believe that Ocarina is so beloved by the fandom that it might still break even with a high-ass budget. But I think that's just the Zelda fan in me talking. We wouldn't have this problem if they just did animation. For the final movie in the trilogy, there's no other candidate than Twilight Princess. The game is already cinematic in its story and visuals, and the dark tone could be the perfect send-off for the trilogy. But to go more in depth, think about the tone being set up here. Skyward has a lighter tone with its paint art style. Twilight is dark and gritty with its more realistic driven style, and Ocarina is literally a duality between childhood and adulthood. The trilogy gets darker with each entry. Also, Twilight, while not emphasizing time as much, has a scene that convinced me it was the perfect finale to the trilogy, the Hero Shade training montage. What better way to tie everything into a nice bow than a cinematic scene adapting the only moment in the entire franchise where two Links from different eras ever meet face to face, other than that one crossover in Breath of the Wild. But think about it, two Links training together like the passing of a torch. It's the perfect game, the perfect movie to tie all this. What? What do you mean? Oh shit, I forgot one of them. While there's a chance that Majora's Mask could work as a Groundhog's Day movie, I think it's overshadowed by the other competitors, and that's why I didn't include it. But what if, and this is a very big if, we could turn it into a side series, similar to what they're doing with the Knuckles series, except longer. So much longer. Will it work? Probably not. I haven't played it yet, but I heard that the majority of the game is side quests, so maybe. Also, while the Zelda movies are most likely going to be marketed toward kids, I hope Majora can still keep its dark undertones and creepy imagery, like Coraline. After all, this is a game about an adult stuck in a child's body trying to stop the moon from crashing to Earth by morphing into the faces of dead people. Maybe this is a bit too much for kids. And that's my trilogy. I hope it's perfect despite its flaws. There's so much content in all of these games that a lot of elements will be cut to make room for the movie. Harry Potter was one of the best book-to-movie adaptations, and even it had to cut a lot of content from the books. Character dynamics are guaranteed since Link has a partner for every game that are iconic in their own right. Fine, shut the fuck up. Another idea I have is Link being played by a different actor in each film, since they're all technically different people, but also the same person, like Doctor Who. Would the films even follow the games like that? I don't know. The Mario movie was different, but I feel like that's because it's Mario, so you can get away with it. Meanwhile, Zelda actually has a story, so there's more pressure to get it right. Well, they'll probably just make an original story for the films. Either way, I'm dick writing the movie when it comes out.